If you listen to Dr. Lynn, you'll know why Kathleen Secular Sebelius and Secular Obama need to be gone. Listen closely. It doesn't last that long, but it is a lot of truth.
I'm a Baptist minister and an ethicist, and I do think that there are unprecedented threats to our religious freedom in this country today. 20 years ago, I was in debates with people in my own denomination and in American Christianity in general who were concerned about what they saw as threats to the Establishment Clause. And I said, you know, I'm sorry, I don't see any significant threat to the Establishment Clause in my lifetime. But I do see rising threats to the Free Exercise Clause from a growing secularism that is influencing the opinion-making segments of our society and is increasingly intolerant of religious expression. I'm reminded, as I look at the landscape of America, of the famous comment by Peter Berger when he was told there was a worldwide research done to discover the degree of religious belief or religious practice in societies around the world. And when they finished tabulating all of the data, they found that the most religious country in the world was India. And the least religious country in the world was Sweden. And when Peter Berger was told the results, he said that America was a nation of Indians ruled by an elite of Swedes. That's not as true as it was when that was first said, but it's still true to a significant degree. When we hear the word unprecedented, I can think of no other time in the history of the United States when the Justice Department of the United States would go before the Supreme Court of the United States.
Now hear this.
And make an argument, as it did in the Tabor case, that there are no particular and special protections for religion in the First Amendment.
They are liars.
And that churches and religiously affiliated organizations have no more protections under the First Amendment than a country club. John Roberts, who is really developing quite a reputation for succinct and pithy remarks, said in his opinion, I find the administration's position to be remarkable, considering the fact that religion is mentioned twice in the First Amendment.
Twice.
That they would find no particular and special recognition.
Eric Holder couldn't find his ass, let alone anything else.
And if you look at the history of the First Amendment, the First Amendment is there to protect religious freedom and freedom of conscience. The other freedoms are there to help protect freedom of conscience. It's the first freedom. And as late as 1944, when the Supreme Court in the middle of World War II was protecting the right of Americans who felt a religious objection to pledging allegiance to the flag, said that freedom of conscience embodied in the First Amendment was the North Star of American freedom. I would long for such a court to be reproduced today. But the administration's position was so extreme that it lost 9-0. Do you realize how difficult it is to get all 9 of our Supreme Court justices to agree on anything? But they rejected this in a 9-0 decision. In Nashville, where I live, one of our finer universities has gone, political correctness gone amok. It's like Alice through the looking glass. Christian organizations on campus cannot require that the leaders of their organizations adhere to the tenets of the faith. That's beyond comprehension. It shows you that, political correctness can lead you to the loss of logical thought.
And moral correctness.
And when it comes to the government mandate, I want to talk a little bit about the government mandates in Obamacare and HHS. This shows either a hostility
That's what it is.
to religious freedom or a complete ignorance of the First Amendment.
Both.
It seems to me there are not any other alternatives.
Both.
This debate is not about contraception. It's about coercion. It's not about Catholics. It's about conscience. It's about religious freedom, not reproductive freedom. This is about principle, not pelvic politics. Make no mistake about it. This is only incidentally about reproductive freedom. It's about the freedom of religious organizations to practice their faith. We believe, as Americans, that every human being has a God-given right of freedom of faith and conscience.
Amen.
Due to our forefathers' persecutions, persistence, and insistence, this freedom is acknowledged and recognized in the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States.
Twice.
The free exercise of religion goes well beyond the mere freedom of worship concept so often ballyhooed by secularists today in our culture. For them, freedom of worship is restricted to church and home, and maybe not even there. We have cases all the time of zoning commissions that try to restrict how many people a couple can have in their home for a Bible study because it causes traffic congestion.
God.
Free exercise of religion is far more robust and includes the right to share one's faith and to live out the implications of one's faith in the social and economic spheres. In other words, the freedom to exercise or act and the right not to be coerced. We must not stand by and allow our God-given rights to religious freedom, guaranteed by the Bill of Rights, to be atrophied, neutered, and confined and restricted to mere freedom of worship. As Cardinal Dolan has said in his February 22nd letter to his fellow Catholic bishops, the Obama administration has attempted to reduce this free exercise to a privilege, arbitrarily granted as a mere exemption from an all-encompassing extreme form of secularism.
Because he's a
Indeed,
dickhead.
I think I could make an argument that this extreme secularist mindset embodied in the HHS mandate violates not only the First Amendment's free exercise clause, but the Establishment Clause as well. When the federal government asserts the right to universally mandate actions, trample religious convictions,
Which is what
and
they've
then
done.
grant exemptions to those it so chooses, the government is behaving perilously like a secular theocracy granting ecclesiastical indulgences to a chosen few.
You got it.
Our